Nobody knows who said it first. It's as valid today as it was when it was first uttered. Get the right message to the right person at the right time. That's marketing.
Most businesses lose customers within 6 seconds of landing on their website. James Hipkin spent 40 years fixing this for Apple, Toyota, and Wells Fargo. He's identified the fatal flaw killing conversations. Businesses focus on selling instead of confirming they understand the customer's problem. James reveals why the 80-20 rule applies to your customers. His controversial take on eliminating calls to action entirely, and when solopreneurs shouldn't build websites at all. If your website isn't converting, this shows you exactly what's wrong and how to fix it.
James, welcome to the podcast.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Now, you have a career in digital marketing that spans over 40 years, which is, oh my gosh, awesome. And you work with major brands like Apple and Toyota. What are just some of the fundamental entrepreneurship principles that you think have remained constant despite the digital revolution?
I'll tell you, there's an old adage. When I say it, people will probably nod their head and recognize it. It's as valid today as it was when it was first uttered. Nobody knows who said it first. Get the right message to the right person at the right time. When it gets right down to it, that's marketing.
Love it. And that is so true because depending on where you are in your business cycle, the client that you look for on day one may not be the same client that you're serving today. And when the marketplace changes, sometimes you need to change with the marketplace depending on whichever widget it is that you are trying to introduce to folks.
Exactly right. And the audience changes too. As generations move through, what worked in a previous generation is not going to work in the current generation. Gen Z and millennials have a very different way of going about research. For example, they grew up with the internet. This is not new to them. It's like breathing in and out. This is how they live. And businesses that are still thinking in terms of old sales processes are not going to be successful against this new paradigm.
And so it's interesting that you mentioned that because for a while when the introduction of the internet came out and then you had businesses who were focusing on just getting a website, then you had the evolution of the websites and you had people using individual landing pages, and people using their social media more for branding. And maybe instead of getting a landing page or a website, they would have a link tree or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
When did you decide to really pivot from corporate marketing to just really helping businesses with their websites and with those transitions?
It was about 12 years ago. I had the opportunity to buy a vendor, and this was supposed to be my semi-retirement. My wife teases me what part of working from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. is semi-retired, but
That's a wise woman right there, okay?
yeah, oh yeah. No, none of us are perfect except my wife. My wife is perfect. And the reality is the reason I focused in on this is my background is in marketing strategy and understanding how to communicate to large numbers of people and get them to take action. And when I audit websites and when I audit digital marketing programs, the most common problem I see is an absence of strategy. You described it a second ago. That people have got a website. I sometimes call this checkboxism. I'm told I need a website. My nephew made me a website. Look, I have a website. Check the box. I'm told I need to be in social media. Look, social media. Check the box. Right? But none of the pieces are connected together. And typically what is happening is not only are none of the pieces connected together, but the business owner is standing on their conceptual rooftop shouting at the world at large about how awesome they are. The world at large doesn't care. The world at large has their own problems and their own challenges, and they go through their own process. So What I've just described, checkboxism and standing on your rooftop, is what I call inside-out marketing. It's the business is shouting about how awesome they are, their features and how long they've been in business and how many employees they have and all this stuff. Meanwhile, their ideal customer, fridge stopped working and they realized they need a new fridge. So they go about this process of researching what kind of fridge options are available now, and they check with their friends, and they go into Reddit, and they go into various resources, and they look at reviews, and they look for informational articles. They go through this whole process from awareness, consideration, prospecting, decision. That is their journey. And more often than not, the marketing that's being created by the businesses is not connected to that journey.
And that is a very good point, because I believe that I saw somewhere in a previous interview that you did that consumers make decisions about your website within 6 seconds.
That's right.
So instead of checkboxism, what are some of the tactical things that entrepreneurs can do that will really change their digital marketing strategy?
A simple idea that I'll sometimes talk about is I'll interview a business owner and ask them what they think the primary objective of their website is. And I'll usually get a litany of things that they want the website to do, and we'll have a quick conversation about the definition of the word primary. There can only be one, right? And they'll usually settle in on conversion. It's almost always wrong. From the consumer's perspective, what the consumer is looking for is not conversion, it's confirmation. They're looking for confirmation that you understand who they are, understand the problem that they're trying to solve, have a viable solution for that problem, and that solution is believable.
Okay, James, you are getting me in so much trouble here, because I think that I may be guilty of checkboxism. It sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you are building your website or your digital marketing strategy, then we need to take a page out of Stephen Covey's book and begin with the end in mind.
That's right.
So if we are truly focused on the consumer, the person who is coming for the confirmation that it's a pain point that they have, where do we start? Where do we start, James?
Okay, so let me talk about a different concept. I'm sure that you've heard of the Pareto Principle.
Yes.
80-20 rule. If you apply that to your customer base, if you're a business owner and you look at your customers, I'd be willing to bet you lunch somewhere that 80% of your revenue is coming from 20% of your customers. The specific numbers will probably vary. I've literally seen 95%, 5%. We did an analysis for a major bank at one point, and literally 95% of their profit was coming from 5% of their customers.
Wow.
God bless free checking. And that minority that's driving the majority of your revenue are typically heavy users of your category, which makes them very knowledgeable. They're very knowledgeable about you, and they're very knowledgeable about your competitors. That 20% that's driving the majority of your revenue needs to be talked to in a different way. If you talk to them like they're just regular folks, they're not going to hear you.
So are we only talking to the 20% and focusing on the 20? Or do we have different messaging on a different platform for the other 80?
I'll tell you, my recommendation is to focus on the 20%. Because if you are focused on the 20%, that increases the likelihood you're going to attract more people like them. And the messaging that you're focusing on the 20% is still going to resonate with other folks. But you really want to focus, because that's where you get the return on the investment. That's where you'll break through. Because another simple little fact here, a little common sense thing that when I say it, you'll go, yeah. They're very important to you, but equally, you're very important to them. Those heavy users are heavy users because there's some need in their life that causes them to need this category significantly. So they're important to you and you are important to them. And if you speak to them with this recognition, you talk to them about things the way they're dealing with things, you're much more likely to attract more of them.
Now, especially since COVID, when people had an opportunity just to be at home and be still, we have a whole new wave. Everyone's a coach, everyone is a consultant, and there are just offers everywhere. There is one influencer who, and I think he borrowed this principle. He says that there are 16 different sections to an effective landing page if you want it to convert. Are there any 5, 6, 7, or just any certain number of things that you'd recommend that each business owner should address in an effective website?
I'll tell you, and this is a bit controversial, but my whole thing here is to get people to think about these things from a different angle. Okay? I want people to stop talking about call to action.
Oh my God, James, you're going to get me canceled. Stop talking about call to action.
I know. Everybody from their day one have been told you have to have a call to action, you have to have a call to action. But think about it. A call to action is inside out marketing. It is a marketer shouting at a customer and telling them what to do. Customers don't want to be shouted at and they don't want to be told what to do. What I would recommend that you think about is creating people like you pathways.
Okay.
Now, functionally, it's exactly the same thing, but the mindset shift is very important because you've gone from inside out marketing where you're shouting at a customer and telling them what to do to outside in marketing where you are calling out to subsegments in your audience and inviting them down a pathway to learn more information. And when they choose that pathway, two very powerful things happen. They've told you exactly who they are because it's a people like you pathway, and they've given you permission to give them more information. How awesome is that?
Well, it's super awesome, but, and just to make sure I'm clear, so is there a place for a call to action anywhere, like in social media, or are you just saying that there's no place for it for your website?
It's a mindset shift. Functionally, it's exactly the same thing. But the way you think about it and the way you position it in your marketing, whether it's in social media or email marketing or whatever, it's still there. It functions the same way. It does the same thing. But what you're doing is you're thinking about it from the perspective of your audience and what your audience is looking for rather than from the perspective of your business and what you're trying to sell.
Gotcha. This is some good stuff. Okay. Now that we have the mindset shift, one thing that entrepreneurs struggle with from a digital standpoint is engagement. Because, we may think that we are putting out the very best content. We may be paying for ads. We may be influencing other people's audience and doing podcasts like these. But what makes the difference between a website that people engage with versus one that they leave early on?
Well, and a lot of it is this same concept of do you have a clear understanding of who your best customer is? Do you have an avatar of that best customer? Do you understand what they're like demographically, what they're like as people, their characteristics? What is the pain that they're struggling to overcome? And what is the transformation, the gain they're hoping to achieve? Do you have that picture? How do they talk about the business? One of the resources that we use to help with messaging is Reddit. Most businesses, there's a subreddit out there that is focused on their world. Go into that and AI is great for this. We'll go into a subreddit and we'll ask the AI to analyze the entire subreddit and tell us the top 10 questions that are being asked and give us examples of how those questions are being asked. And we get real world language and real world issues, and we get a real world understanding of what the target audience is struggling with. And when you create marketing, social media, whatever channel you might be using, and you use those insights and that real world language, people will go, yeah, that's me. And when they go, yeah, that's me, they're engaged and they'll lean into it because the new millennials and Gen Z, they're very They grew up with marketing. They grew up with digital marketing. They're very skeptical about traditional marketing methodologies. But if you can connect with them by using their language, you will get the engagement you're looking for.
And this is so good. And it really goes to my next question as well, because how you attract your ideal avatar and that relationship with your marketing funnel design and that attraction. So, what sort of metrics am I looking at to see if I'm engaging with that ideal person, that 20%? What are some of the recommendations to just see if I'm on target?
For starters, I like to describe marketing as a three-legged stool. The seat of the marketing is the objective, and it's your point from earlier, start at the end. So what's your objective? And I like to use SMART objectives. And are you familiar with SMART objectives?
Yes.
Yeah. So a SMART objective, and then the three legs are, what's your marketing strategy? And this is the who and the why that comes from the avatar. And then what's your marketing plan? And this is the how and the when that comes from the buyer's journey map. And the third leg of the three-legged stool is measurement. Are you, in fact, measuring what's going on in all of your channels? A lot of people aren't. Clients will come to us and we'll look at their market and we'll say, okay, so what's working? And they'll just look at us. They don't know.
The marketing person, the receptionist, the CIO. So where should you start if you are all things in business? And then as you grow, what are some of the things that you would turn your attention to in terms of measurement?
Okay, I'll tell you, and this surprises people sometimes. They'll call me up, and solopreneur will call me up and because they want us to help them create a website. And I'll say, you don't need a website.
Okay, now you messed me up on that one. Why don't they need a website? You're the website guy, right?
Yep.
Okay.
There's only two digital assets that a business owns: the website, your website, and your list. And before you spend a lot of money on a website, sell something to someone. You build your list. Because you can very inexpensively, you can sign up for an email service provider like MailChimp or MailerLite, or they're all at the entry level. They're all basically the same. And they all offer a landing page option. Use that landing page on your free MailChimp account, buy yourself a domain name, redirect that domain name to the landing page, and build your list. Get people to buy something from you. Learn from those customers. Find out what matters to them. Sell something else to someone else. Learn from them. Those insights and that knowledge and that understanding that what's actually the marketplace is looking for is absolutely vital for you. When you do invest in the website, you're investing, you're not guessing. You know what you need to talk about. I see this over and over again, people spending boatloads of money on this website when they've actually, their business, they have no idea what their business actually is.
And so this is so good because, okay, so we have a landing page and we kind of have an idea for what our ideal avatar wants. But what about folks that come to you that already have websites? What are some of the common mistakes that they're making other than just not testing the market that actually hurt their conversion?
Usually almost always what we're seeing is that what I talked about before, inside out marketing. They're talking about themselves. They're not talking about the customer. And I'll give you an example, and everybody who's listening should go and look at their About Us page. You'd think the About Us page should be about the business.
It says about us.
That's what it says. Really effective About Us page is about the customer. On the About Us page, you explain why the business has been created, how you're designed to support what your customers are looking for. You use this as yet another opportunity to communicate that you are absolutely there for them. And if you take, About Us page is usually the second most trafficked page on a website. So it's a huge opportunity for you as a business owner to deliver again to your ideal customer that you are built around what they need.
So it's really interesting that you mentioned the About Us page because now you have so many business owners who are not just corporate figures sitting somewhere behind a curtain. You know, a
Mhm.
lot of them are influencers. You have the people like Gary Vee, who owns lots of businesses. Tony Robbins, of course, he's an influencer. He does so many things, but he has dozens of companies.
Mhm.
How do you separate the way that you promote your personal brand with your company branding on your website? Because now we know better on the About Us page not to go all personal about how great James and Scherrie are. What are some recommendations you would have for that?
Personal brand is important because it builds authority. I do these podcasts because I have a lot of experience and I want to share that experience. I want to help business owners be successful. But I do it as if you think about the hierarchy of messaging we talked about before, lead with the problem that you're trying to solve, that the customer has, provide the solution, and then show that the solution is a viable resource. This third thing is what I call reasons to believe. And your personal brand, your authority is a really powerful reason to believe. What you don't want to do is get yourself all caught up in thinking that that your personal brand is what they're buying. They're not buying your personal brand. They are buying a solution to their problem. Your personal brand is support. It is reason that they can trust and believe that you're going to do a good job for them. I'm on these podcasts so that I can communicate. We think about these things. If it's not strategic, it's not marketing.
And so when we talk about strategy and websites and just trying to get the focus of why the business exists out there, you have different schools of thought as it relates to paid advertising and also organic. Do you have an opinion as to whether paid advertising contributes more to just the bottom line and the return on investment for companies versus things that they can do and get more traffic organically?
Okay. Yes, I do. The reality is, and this is completely outside of our control, and it's also an echo of another one of my themes, which is don't build your business on rented land. You only own two things, your website and your list. Everything else is rented land. The social media platforms, the organic sources, SEO, very hard to make traction because the algorithms are not designed to get your messaging out to the majority of people who are following you. The social media platforms want you to buy media, so at best, you're going to reach 10% of your audience. It's a very hard road. Now, on the flip side of it, because paid advertising is so data driven, if you are smart about it, paid advertising can become a faucet. You can turn it up, turn it down as you wish, as your business requires, and you should always be getting a 100, 200, 300% return on ad spend. If you're not, then you're probably doing it wrong. It's not the challenge of the media. It's challenge that you need an expert to be involved. But the reality is you can use organic is a great way to test messaging. It's a great way to understand what's resonating with people, but then take that knowledge that you're getting from the organic and then spin that into a paid environment, because that's where you're going to start getting some real impact on your business.
James, this has been awesome. If you had just one piece of advice to share with entrepreneurs on how to play big faster, what would it be?
Stop trying to boil the ocean.
Okay, boil the ocean. I'm gonna need you to break that down for us. How do we boil the ocean, James?
I'm telling you, that I see this all the time. They're trying to do all these things, right? And again, it comes back to the measurement conversation we had earlier. Okay, what's working? They don't know. So start measuring things and start figuring out what you can get rid of. Again, one of those real common sense things. Water the flowers and prune the weeds. Figure out what's working, do more of that.
This has been awesome. And so I've been very lucky to have you here for the podcast. But for people that want to take this conversation offline or just contact you directly, what is the best way to contact you?
I love talking to business owners. I love hearing about their problems. I love seeing what I can do to help. If you want to book some time, virtual coffee with me, go to vipchatwithjames.com and you'll get my calendar link and you'll be able to schedule a 30-minute call with me. And I would welcome the opportunity to talk with you about your business and your customers and how you can start reorienting your marketing to be outside in versus inside out.
And so I'm going to close this out with my CTA until James helps me make it inside out. If you have liked this conversation and you would like to get notified anytime that we release more information, follow the podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast. Or if you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified anytime we drop new content. And until next time, play big faster.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Play Big Faster podcast. Want more entrepreneurial content?
I like this.
Make sure to subscribe for future episodes.
Already subscribed.
I just clicked on it.
Don't forget to like and leave a review. Share with a friend that needs this in their life.
I think you need this more than I.
Oh, and make sure to follow Scherrie on IG at Scherrie Speaks. And remember to play big faster.